Justin, Jeremiah, Roots and Refuge.
Yay.
We're going to jump right into this.
Jump in.
I want you to tell us, how do you best serve your audience?
Oh, wow. We're going straight into it.
Right in. In other words, how are we going to serve these people today? Why should they listen today? Like, how do you serve people?
I mean, I guess vulnerability is the number one thing on the list for me. I think that if you're ever willing to show up and be your most real self, then, I mean, what else can you give people that's better than that? I might try to figure out something they might want more, but it wouldn't be authentic. So I'm just going to show up and be my authentic self. And that's the best thing I can serve. I mean, not that it's always the best thing, but it's the most real thing.
Would you agree that everybody loves to see somebody else be vulnerable, but it's very difficult to be vulnerable themselves?
Yes. I do think maybe people think they like to see people be vulnerable. I don't think everybody always likes to see people be vulnerable. I think it can be very uncomfortable for people because if they haven't learned to embrace that level of vulnerability, being around people who do is very challenging. And so I do run into that sometimes, but yes, I think it's a hard thing to really embrace vulnerability.
Being around someone who's vulnerable kind of exposes where you're not.
That's a good word. Can you guys give me an example of how you've been vulnerable with your audience? 2 different examples. One.
I think for us it's been sharing not just the highlight reel. You know, I mean, social media is known for being a place of like comparison and showing your best and like showing the clean part of the kitchen while the mess is shoved over in the corner. And for me, that's been one of the things that has been difficult to embrace, to just be like, okay, this is real life. The ups and downs. I know we shared when Maya's mom died. We've shared through the loss of homesteading, which obviously you guys know comes with a ton of loss. Where there's livestock, there's dead stock. Yeah,
you could just pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, you have these plans for this animal and you're so excited about it, and then it gets sick and then you can't recover, and then it dies, and then you can either just pretend like it never happened, or you can be vulnerable and address the fact, because you know, you're going to get the critics. And I think you probably know this as much as we do. Like, here's what's really happened, and everyone's like, yo, you're bad, or you know, you did that wrong. You could have done this better, or whatever. And that's being vulnerable, being willing to expose yourself due to the authenticity to what everyone, you know, the people are going to have opinions about. Or
how do you? I get that, and I go there too. We're very good, bad, and ugly. I'm reading 50 Cent's book, of all things. You know, successful businessman, just gleaning from it. And he talks about making an impression. And I read that part, and you know, he's talking about dressing nice to go to these board meetings and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I wear a collar shirt and whatever in the vlog, but I'm to Rebekah. I'm like, you know, our downstairs is kind of jacked.
It's pretty bad down there.
It's kind of messed up. Should we stop showing it? And she's like, no, show it. You know, it brings out the human in us. And I'm like, well, what about the loft? Well, don't show the loft.
No, don't show the loft. It's bad.
So
that's like our hoarder room.
Is how do you keep an impression? Also, maintain your own authority, because both of us are teachers as well. So we don't want to look like fools. So how do you guys maintain your authority, but yet bring in this vulnerability and maintain a level of respect?
I think another big thing, and I think that this is part of that maintaining that authority, I guess, would be like inspiring people, like being inspirational, and sometimes even like making that more the priority than necessarily the knowledge. Because, and this is just my experience through it, is if I get inspired about a topic, whether after I'm done failing and figuring it out, I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep going. If you're just out there to get the knowledge and you're getting presented this unrealistic perception of homesteading or keeping a farm and all the things that can happen, and you know, if we never showed that our yard was messy, or that our kids' toys were on the floor, or my tool trailer right now is a hot mess Like, you have to step on stuff to get to the stuff you need to get to. I have no idea where half the stuff is. But it's the mad,
I'm not the only one.
That makes us feel a lot better.
I love my tools and I love organization, but the mad dash to get from Arkansas to South Carolina, I mean, literally, I'm like, at the end of a 14-hour day, I'm like, I don't want to go through and put all the little bits that go back in the bit boxes up and hang all the, you know what I'm saying? So I just, like, set it on the floor of the tool trailer, and that's been compounding for 6 months. That's real. Right? I'm saying, but, you know, I think by showing that, you give people a level of, okay, this is real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you ever look at, like, the highlight reel and you're like, man, how do they ever, like, how do they do all this? And it's always so perfect and it's always so clean and they never fail. That doesn't give people any inspiration that they can actually do it. Are
you even a little frustrated at looking at other people's reels when it just seems so perfect and cookie cutter?
I'm not. I don't really get frustrated at other people's stuff.
Jeremiah's hard to frustrate, actually. But
no, my kids can frustrate me. If I was being honest, my kids can frustrate me. It's like they know the little tune.
They know the right button.
They know the little tune, right? And it's just like, will set me off. But that's, I mean, that's, you live in close proximity with anybody, they know you more. You know what I'm saying? You're the most vulnerable with them.
Yeah.
But as far as like other people's stuff and like what they're doing, their successes, their failures, or what, you know what I'm saying, what they're presenting, if we agree with it or don't agree with it, we've kind of just decided like, we can still be in relation. Like, if we disagreed about something, we could still be close friends.
Yeah.
We just are not going to agree on that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. And I'm not going to judge you. I don't like, you might do, you might post a video that I'm like, I don't really agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's not going to influence, it's not going to decide whether or not I'm in a relationship with you or even vulnerable with you.
Yeah, that's a good word.
And that's a hard thing to process or for people to accept in our current culture.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you disagree with me. Well, then I must separate myself from you, or, you know, we had an argument, or, you know what I'm saying, like this big topic that was so important. Like, I think that's a good word. Dealing with a lot of division.
I will say, I want to say this, like the way you guys handled bringing your cow home.
Yeah.
You showed, you were very vulnerable.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was real. I know that was really hard to, I know that was really hard to be like, we're going to show this, but I really loved how you addressed why you showed it.
Yeah. So
tell them what they showed. For
what
those that don't know,
happened
didn't see that. Yeah.
was we picked up our Jersey cow. We got our first cow. We've not ever handled cows. The most experience I've had with cows is here at y'all's house.
And I've handled horses, which is a big animal, but they're just different.
Yeah, very different. And we have a pretty new livestock trailer, and we've only really used it to haul goats and pigs, which with goats and pigs, it's not a big deal if you don't have some sort of traction on the floor. And we picked the cow up, and of course, our friend we bought the cow from just didn't think about it. So it was just a mistake, but we loaded the cow and she fell while we were bringing her home. And so when we went to unload her, she had fallen on the slick floor because, of course, you put a cow in a trailer in the first.
I think she probably laid down, like, you know, because of the motion.
Yeah, but she couldn't get back up.
She couldn't get back up.
We'll leave it at couldn't get back up. We're going to get Teddy out here.
Yeah.
Jonah, let Teddy out.
Teddy. He pooped on the porch this morning. That's the gift. That's how my friends treat me. Can I cancel him or what?
I will never poop on the porch.
And I'm feeding the cat.
Well, actually, I can't say never. I will do my very, very best.
You know,
to never eat something that doesn't agree with me at such an extreme rate.
I'm going to take you to the extreme here. If I poop on your porch, are we still friends?
Yeah.
Wow. Testing him to the max.
But you will clean it up.
He's like, yeah. I mean, you might get scolded. I might get scalded. I'm feeding the cat. And I'm like, what's that sticky?
Oh, no.
And I'm just pushing through it.
Right on the porch.
Yes.
I'm like, you have this whole farm.
I know, right?
Here's what
That's
I'm
how
He's like, he walked outside and said, it's too cold.
My best friend treat me that way.
I know. I thought it was her best friend.
So true story. We've got all these stalls in the bottom of the barn. And this is back in my mountain boarding days. We used to have events here for the mountain boarders. And you can imagine mountain boarders, you know, like skateboarders or whatever, punk rockers, just into drugs and drinking and all kinds of stuff, partying like crazy. Well, my dad's walking through the bottom looking in all our stalls. And he looks over there. Is it? Yeah, it's a big fat turd.
Oh my God.
And I'm down there with my a couple of my friends, and he's like, come here, guys. Look how Justin's friends treat him.
No.
Poop underneath my house. I'm glad I got new friends and heard Jeremiah wouldn't. I canceled him, I guess.
I mean,
that might not have been the.
Listen. It's okay to set boundaries. My boundary is you can't poop on my house. It doesn't mean I'm canceling you.
Oh, that's true.
There is a difference.
You can have healthy boundaries.
Right.
All right. And consequences. Where were we?
Back to the cabin.
She couldn't get up.
Yeah, because she had, obviously evacuated some of her bowels and stuff. So she literally was sliding around.
Mm-hmm.
And when we stopped, she couldn't get up. She couldn't get her legs
couldn't get
underneath
traction.
her. And she was kept slipping and falling and flailing. It was very, when you're dealing with such a big animal, it can feel very overwhelming and violent kicking and all that stuff. And I had put the camera down because, sometimes there's that hard thing of okay, I need to figure out this problem.
Oh,
and
100%.
And you have this war raging between the person shooting the content and the person running the farm, and who's going to get the focus and who's going to get to actually run the moment. And I finally just I told Ezra, because he was behind me, and I just kind of clicked in, I should video this. And I told Ezra, go grab my camera. I had set it down in the truck, and he went and got it. And I just filmed a little bit. And it wasn't a long time. It was, 7 or 8 minutes that we couldn't get her up. We ended up getting a feed bucket. She flopped out of there.
Well, I got a halter on her, and she helped me get her turned, she helped turn herself around where her face was facing the back door. And
yeah, she knew.
Then I got a feed bucket of her feed and gave her a bite and then pulled it away from her. And she, as much as you can imagine a fat person who can't stand up, scooted her fat body to the edge of the trailer because, food is the prime motivator of someone who's fat like that. I mean, she's 1,000 pounds. And so then I gave her another bite and took it away, and she literally just, flopped out of the trailer.
She did.
She literally just,
bruised her leg.
And you got all this on tape.
Hit her udder. I mean, it was a pretty rough.
As far as a solution, though, that was probably
the best thing that could happen.
She didn't really hurt anything serious. She didn't damage anything. No broken, bones or anything.
Yeah,
like
which
that.
is what you are most concerned
She
of.
settled into the property within a day.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. For me, I explain to people, I don't want to show this. Nobody wants to show the times that they make mistakes, or there's an oversight, and there's the potential of a consequence, or there is a consequence that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Nobody's yes, I'm so glad that my cow laid down and couldn't get up, and that I didn't know better, and that she, all of that stuff. Nobody's excited about sharing that moment. But I did, and I explained, I'm going to do this because right now, all over the place, there are tens of thousands of people leaving cities, and they're moving to farms, and they're buying their first livestock trailer and their first cow. And that was an honest mistake that could have happened to anybody. And thankfully for us, the outcome wasn't that bad. But had she broken her leg, had she ripped her udder open on, the back of the trailer, there are so many things that could have happened in that moment. And my thought is, I can swallow my pride and present this as, hey, here, let me let you learn from my mistake. And maybe somebody's cow won't die because of it. Mine really isn't in any danger anymore, but I can share this with you. And for me, the question you asked earlier about how do you maintain, what is the boundary? What's the loft that you're not going to show? And I kind of liken what we do to living in a glass house, and even glass houses have closets and bathrooms. Even when you live in a glass house, you're entitled to places of privacy. And it is a really healthy mindset to me that I don't have to share everything. I choose to share these things because I can see the benefit. And I said this in that video, your cow is more important to me than my pride. And that's really what it comes down to, is I'll share my mistakes because you having success is more important to me than me looking good in this moment. And ultimately, that is vulnerability. What vulnerability is, hey, I'm going to put myself in a position where you could hurt me. I'm going to put myself in a position where you could reject me. It's taking the armor off. It's saying, I'm going to come and bare myself to you. And if you say, I don't want it, if you decide to cut me in that moment, I've given you the opportunity to. And that's what actual vulnerability is. If you are not in the position that the other person could reject you, hurt you, and, you know, cut you, then are you actually being vulnerable? And that, you know, and with that thing with the cow, I had a handful of people say, you shouldn't have even gotten a cow. You know, obviously you don't know anything
Nobody was
about
more critical on how to fix the situation and how to do it better than us.
Right.
I'm saying, I don't want to be in that position again. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we got on the camera and we were like, well, it really wasn't a big deal. She's fine. Turned out fine. No big deal. Move forward. Like, we addressed the fact that, hey, this was a big mistake. Like, and obviously it won't happen again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do want to say, though, when we got our cows, a very experienced dairy we bought them from, I feel like the same thing happened to Phyllis.
Oh yeah, she came with a ripped udder because she got stepped on.
She didn't get ripped. It didn't get ripped. But it did get stepped on, and we were literally milking out blood.
She was laying down in poop and.
Yeah, I mean it was very similar. It was a little different than y'all's, but it was very similar. And this was a dairy that they've been doing cows for forever.
Not a Jerry dairy. This was like legit.
Yeah.
Breastfed.
Very nice. So like when I saw it, I was kind of like, yeah, this can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, your farmers are going to understand. A lot of times our audiences have no clue.
Right.
Your commenter like, you shouldn't have got a cow.
Chances are they probably don't even have a cow themselves.
No, most of that really critical advice comes from people who are not doing or going to do the things we're doing.
And they're watching other people.
Yeah.
And they're pulling what other people are doing, and they're pulling this all together, and they think they know all this stuff.
But what I'm going to say is there's no textbook
Right.
tells you how to cope in a situation like that.
Right.
No textbook tells you that.
And there are so many
you just have to
moments
do.
I can think of since we've had our farm that I'm literally like, you know, that moment where you're like, oh my God, like, and you start seeing all the ways it could go bad, like when the pigs got out. And Jeremiah,
that can go real bad.
Well, the first time we drove to Missouri
time.
and got out.
Well, no, there's only been 2 serious instances. Okay, so the first time when we picked the pigs up and we were chasing them through the field
all night
for 6.5 hours, we went to bed at like 7:30 in the morning after finally catching them.
Oh my gosh.
It took 6.5 hours.
It took a long time. Like
That
it
was
took
a funny
so long that I was actually entertaining the idea of just getting my gun, getting close enough to her, shooting her, and we're gonna eat her for breakfast because it was already breakfast time.
Yep.
So that's one of the days that I wasn't gonna opt out. I was gonna go full in.
Did they? Tell me this.
Because I was so mad.
This is my theory. Did the pigs
finally give out, like wear out?
No. Oh,
Jessica,
They had the energy?
Jessica had to take her shirt off, right, and use it like a matador, right? She's like, hey. So I'm talking like she's in her bra. She's in her bra. She took her shirt off, using a matador. Okay, and I'm hiding, like kind of like behind a big grass. And as it runs, she gets it to run towards me. I like football tackle it like I'm New England Patriots stopping the Seahawks, for making a touchdown.
I'm like imagining like a 300-pound pig.
Yeah, the 300-pound pig
no, this is a
eventually
tiny
wears
little pig.
out.
I'm talking Henry size.
Oh.
And they're fast. I mean,
why didn't you
they're like
shoot that
agile.
thing?
They're
Why
like
didn't you have that
halfbacks.
thing
Because we
for
just
breakfast?
spent like hundreds of dollars for a drove all
Because
night
I just
together.
tossed it for 5 hours. Okay?
Hey, now wait, where was the YouTube video with you?
Oh no, we were
Bra
on YouTube. There's no YouTube video.
Kid-friendly show, huh?
Now, if it had, we would have had a viral video.
Yes, you would. Where you were losing your religion.
That's right.
That's right.
We would have been judged. I would have had to apologize for words. I was like back in my Marine Corps days. Literally, like I regressed back to like when I was in the Marine Corps and I was stringing words together that I didn't know I was capable of
Marine Corps language. Marine Corps language.
And I'm glad my kids were in bed.
Okay. And
it was that kind of night.
Did you lose it on each other?
No,
we
so.
was like pretty connected that way.
Yeah, teamwork.
Afterwards, we like hugged and then fell asleep.
Hugged and fell asleep.
And we called my sister and said, "Hey, you need you to come take care of our kids."
Have you since eaten those pigs? Have they grown up?
They have given us lots of pig babies. They were our breeders.
They were our breeders.
Yeah.
The mama pigs that were supposed to be giving birth into the spot where one of the high tunnels is about to go to tear up the grass, kind of loosen up the soil. And then I'm going to take them off and then throw down like bedding and chips and all that. And then we're going to build a greenhouse around that spot. And I've never had them get out of like hog panels before. Okay, I had Gerard jump over a hog panel, but I mean, he really
Gerard is your goat?
No, he was the boar.
The boar.
He wanted to
get with the ladies.
Do this thing.
This is a podcast. We can't see your hand gestures necessarily.
Well, he wanted to be with his lady friends doing what male pigs do. And
we call that mating.
So, right, mating. Yeah, that's it. I feel like I'm talking to like a 5-year-old right now. Like, you know, doing the thing. But, so that's the only time I've ever had them get out of a hog panel. And so I just didn't think that it was necessary. But when we moved into this property, we had stuck all the hogs on the small pond. And they got used to just having that water source in the mud. And you know, it's like pig heaven. And so when I pulled her out of that and put her in with none of that, she wasn't having it. And so she jumped up and bent the hog panel and jumped out and went and got in the big pond and just laid there. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work. So we started trying to, like, you know, I tried to coerce her with food. And then she just, actually, I think it's probably the same pig that got out when I was a kid, because she was just as much of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And so I had a friend there who was helping us work on some stuff. And so he was in the 4-wheeler. I was on the side-by-side. And she was just, we were chasing her all over the farm for almost 2 hours, trying to get her to go back in where she was supposed to. And at one point, she had gotten out on the road. Now, across the street from us is like 800 acres of woods. And she went into the woods. And if she decided to continue into the woods, like, she probably would have had her babies and it'd be a set of wild pigs out there.
Yeah,
that are
feral
worth a good
pigs, it's
amount of
a
money.
thing.
Luckily, I was able to turn her.
It's
I
a
know,
thing.
it is. It could
Domestics
happen. I was like, I was having that thought. I'm going to go get my gun.
But she was pregnant.
I don't
She
care.
was due like any
That's
day.
a conflict,
we'll make
isn't
a little
it?
It's a
bacon
conflict.
nugget.
Well,
That's
because
a
it was
conflict.
like, hey, this is an investment. This is like our future meat.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm not going to let her just disappear into the woods.
Not gonna have
Now, I
feral
might have
pigs,
given her some
neighbors.
time, you know what I'm saying, to make a better decision in her life. We treat a lot of our, like our permanent animals, like the not, you know, like, I don't talk to the meat chickens, but, like, you know, obviously you guys are on a one-way track.
58 days.
Yeah,
You're
right,
gone.
right, exactly. But like our goats and stuff, like we talk to them like they're children. But I basically made a wide circle and got behind her and pushed her back to the road. And then my friend Wes was on the 4-wheeler and he ran her against our fence until she turned back into the property. And eventually we got her into the spot she's supposed to.
Rehab.
Yes. And then I had ran a hot wire across the top so she wouldn't jump out anymore. And then I also gave her a bunch of water so she can make a little wallow, so that way she could cool off if she wanted. I think that's what it was. It was kind of a hot day. She was like, "Where'd my pond go? This is a bunch of crap. I don't go backwards. Honey Boo Boo only goes forward." So she jumped out and went to the pond. I mean, I can't really blame her. It wasted a lot of time.
Have you ever posted something so vulnerable you were sick
Yes.
And doubted, should I do this?
Absolutely.
Should I take it back?
Like
What?
talking about my mom dying.
That was rough.
That was rough.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I share a lot of things. Like, I make devotional videos where I talk from like a faith
Yeah.
place. Those are probably the hardest as far as that kind of vulnerability, because you just are never going to have universal agreement. And so many people don't know how to handle disagreement. And so
What I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
it's just hard that, and I'm always glad I did it like 2 weeks later. But for that first few days, it's rough.
Have you ever pulled something? Or nothing made it because you're like, I don't know, Jeremiah.
Pulled a video?
Let's not put that in
I don't
there.
think I have.
We've never pulled a video
Okay.
that's like, since we actually were doing YouTube. Now, when we first started, I don't know if, like, our first go at YouTube was like a collaboration YouTube channel called The Homesteads of Billy Goat Mountain, which is the mountain we lived on. And there was like 4 videos. It got us monetized, so there's that.
Nice.
But I mean, it took like 3 years for like 4 videos. So I mean, like, or 2
We
years.
did take down some of those, but they were
No,
because
we
there
took
were
down
people.
one because of my friend Jake. He had like he had titled it like, you know, mountain lion or something like that, but like there was actually no footage of a mountain lion. He shot at something and there was like blood splatter and like it got a bunch of views, but then people were like, "There's no mountain lion,
That's what's
liar!"
called clickbait.
We're like,
That's the
"This video
definition of
isn't that
clickbait.
useful to what we're doing," so we took that down.
Who reads the comments?
I do.
Jessica does.
I do. Yeah.
I do read comments, but like
He doesn't read most of them.
Sounds like maybe you should be reading the comments.
I should, but
Sounds like maybe you're a little more callous.
it is, but my lack of being influenced by it also has brought me to the point that I really just don't have time.
No, there's some
Like,
goodness
don't.
in
You know
not
what I'm
being
saying?
influenced by
Yeah.
it.
I'm
Jess,
not
you
actually.
read comments.
I do read comments.
What are we'll talk about ugly comments, but first, again, how you serve people. What are people saying in the comments that are proving this?
And how are you serving them based on what they're saying?
Most of my comments are extremely positive. I would say I probably have an unusual amount of uplifting, kind,
95% of positive comments.
Wonderful viewers. When I really try, like when people ask questions, to kind of keep a running list of those questions, and make sure that I'm answering and clearing things up, like making sure that people are understanding. And I try to keep in mind, like, I'm very much my own worst critic, but also I'm constantly like grading myself. Like, did I communicate this well? Did they understand? Like, if I got a whole bunch of questions on something I wasn't clear, next time I come around to talking about that topic, I'm going to make sure to cover that. Like, and so just, it's almost like you're built, and you understand this because you're very much a teacher at heart, but like when you are a teacher, how your classroom is grading on something and how they're receiving something and the questions they're asking, it can mold you into a better teacher.
True.
Because, and I think I'm much better now at relaying information than I was 3 years ago, because the way my comment section has grown me to help me understand, well, you have to explain that. Like, I always convert the temperature. I'll always tell Fahrenheit and Celsius too, because people would ask a lot. I have a lot of viewers that don't live here, so that kind of thing. But I mean, it also, I will say there is a negative side to it, in that when you know that criticism is there, it makes that vulnerability harder. It's like you're like, I'm going to take off the armor and allow people to cut me, and some of them are going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway.
You keep saying cut me, and some of them. So I'm under the impression that you can get some ugly comments and it not really bother you. But I'm under the impression that some really get into the soul.
Well, some are just like ridiculous.
Tell me, what's the most ridiculous, nonsensical comment?
Oh,
I get to say one too. I get to say one too.
They get to say one too.
They get to say it.
You go first.
Okay, one time a lady left a comment and she said that Jessica was going to hell because she had tattoos and she was filthy.
Oh, that's not my. I've got that.
She was what?
Filthy.
Filthy. I've gotten that one a lot. That doesn't bother me. That wasn't the most ridiculous. Like, that's
ridiculous. That's not ridiculous.
Oh, we'll take a vote. You ready, Jason? We're going to take a vote.
And you're over here, and this is what I'm talking about. She's over here having compassion on that person. She's like, oh, they're just having a problem. Like, they're having a heart issue. Probably someone with tattoos did something bad to them. Like, have grace for them.
Hey,
what's the one that you're the most ridiculous?
Are you going to have tattoos in heaven?
I hope so. Hope we get a clean slate and get to start over again. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
don't remind me.
We'll get to that in a minute. I wrote it down. Tattoos. We're going to get to that in a minute. The little wink.
So, like, to me, the mean comments that are just hateful, like, when a person's hateful, like, from the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Like, they're just showing their bitter heart. Like, a person being hateful doesn't bother me. But the most bizarre comment I ever got was this person who was like, you should feel ashamed for how poorly you're stewarding the land. Is it not a problem to you that when you moved on this farm, all the trees are alive, and now you've managed to kill every tree on your farm? I said, it's winter.
Oh!
The leaves fell off.
Oh!
And
It's winter. Our leaves aren't gone in South Carolina. When I was driving up here today, I saw all the leaves. I'm like, for shame.
You thought of it. You thought of it today.
We bring that comment up and make laugh about it, because it's like, I'm sure someone came back and read that later, or maybe the person who posted it, and they're like, what the heck was I talking about?
No, they probably just don't live where there are deciduous trees, like, and they don't. I don't know, but I was literally like, I mean. It was harsh too. It was like,
you gotta think though, everyone lives in a first person narrative, and so like what they're saying, what is in their area, what they're saying, like for them that's all that there is. A lot of times. And you get like peg-holed into like, well, if it's not like that, if it's like that here, it must be like that over there.
Yeah.
And you've done something wrong.
Not
just killed every single tree.
I killed every tree on my farm.
I was like, well, I mean, I do kind of want to chop them down and turn them into 2x4s, but I decided not to.
Let's go tattoos in a second. But before we do, the comments that pierce to the heart. I know from experience you're reading 100 good comments, and then there's one ugly. And it's louder than the others.
Yes. So
Doesn't you feel like that's the entire audience?
Yes, I can get 1,000 positive comments and 5 that are bad, and I'll think nobody likes me anymore.
Yes,
you know,
that's
like,
true. And I'm the one that has to. She has to come to me.
Yeah,
have you ever gone to therapy?
I have brought it up in therapy. I actually do like see a therapist, and I have brought it up about like how do you handle the negative opinions of people. And I will tell you the one phrase, my friend Nora messaged me. It was actually when we launched Wilder Still, because you know, like anytime you do anything new, you get flack. And that was something that a lot of people, it happened when we launched our course. It happened when I sold, like I announced my book. I'm like, I've had a dream of this since I was a child, and hear this, and you've sold out, and like all that stuff. But this was when
No, I didn't sell out. I'm selling a book. It's 2 different things. Yeah, I mean, with the amount of attention it's getting, it probably will sell out. But keep prophesying that. Tell us the future.
During that launch, you know, I had a few people, and she did my hair, and I went and I was getting my hair done, and she said, Jess, the people in the cheap seats boo the loudest. And it's like, you know, the people who are signing up for these things and buying the book and getting the course and doing that, they don't have negative things to say. The people who have like skin in the game and a stake in what you're doing and have value for what you're doing, they don't have the negative things to say. It's the people who are like, I'm not paying for that. You're not worth that. I don't want anything like that. I can't believe you do this. I can't believe you did that. They say these things, and like, what are they? They're the ones that, I mean, they're not getting behind us.
There's no skin in the game either.
And there's no skin in the game. And so it's like the people in the cheap seats boo the loudest. And that has helped me weigh out that 5 to 1,000 ratio. And I have this rule.
Yeah, we try to operate by this rule. It doesn't always work, but it's good to have like a standard that you try and maintain. And this is one of the reasons why I try not to just check a whole bunch of comments. I do like answer questions if someone's like, hey, how did you build that? Or what tool did you use? You know, I see that, I'll try and answer it. But the foundational rule for commenting is if you haven't responded to every single positive comment, don't respond to a negative one.
And I can never respond to all the
like
positive
there's never going to be a time that we could respond heartfelt to every positive comment. And so that kind of like, because I'm real good at like ranting about stuff. And so like, this is also why I don't let the comments bother me, is because, I mean, like, as much as they could hurt us, like, I could hurt you 10 times worse.
Yeah.
And so that's my whole life. My whole life was me being the younger brother and talking beyond my muscles could handle, and my stronger, stockier older brother handling it over and over again. That's my whole life. So
you know how to push the button.
I do. And I've learned that that's actually not really necessarily a good trait. It can be like, if we ever needed to raise an army, I'm your guy. You know what I'm saying? I could get everyone like motivated. But
we're not at battle here.
No, we're not. Not yet.
They haven't pooped on your porch.
Oh, let them poop on my porch.
So it's a lot easier to
I can shoot a whole podcast just talking about that.
It's a lot easier to get on there and say, it's winter.
Right, exactly.
To say to everybody, oh, we love you guys. You're so inspiring.
But even responding to that, you know what I'm saying? Even being like, hey, that was rude, and you didn't need to. You just get. Have you? This is just my opinion, my perspective. Again, I'm just saying that because I always try and leave a disclaimer. Like, this is obviously not absolute, but like, I've never been like actually tried to respond to someone who was that ignorant or rude or mean, and then be like, oh, you know what? Thank you for commenting back. And I didn't understand that that's what was going on, and I apologize for what I said.
No, they usually
usually it's like, they just pour it on worse. No, you didn't respond to me and try to tell me that I was saying something wrong. You know, you're even worse than you were before.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell my grandmother about you.
Have you ever made a comment, replying to a negative comment?
And deleted
Just
that?
blew them away.
Oh, heck yes. All the time.
I did make a comment once. They said something really mean to Jessica.
Right?
It is therapeutic. They said something really ugly about Jess, and we try and delete the comments that are about the other person. So, like, people call me fat all the time, apparently. I've never seen those comments, but she deletes them for me. And so I try and catch the ones I can for Jessica. But there's just more because she's on the videos more. But one time I did respond, and I was like, you're a jerk. I was like, and nothing you're saying is real. I was like, well, all that stuff you just said, I was like, I don't know what's going on with you. I was like, but you're not going to be allowed to be on this channel. And I just wanted to let you know that before I blocked you and deleted this comment. And I sent it. I gave them 10 minutes to check it, and then I removed them. It was mostly for me because I was like, you know what? You can call me fat. You know, say my beard's scraggly, things I already know. You know what I'm saying? I'm overweight. I'm a little bit overweight. And working out's hard, especially with kids. They just want to sit there and watch you breathe. And I'm like, get out of the room. I'm like, I'm trying to stay in shape here. You're like, I literally, Ezra one time came into the family room, got a bowl of cereal, sat on the couch, and I'm like doing like and I'm like, and he's like sitting there eating, and he goes, "Man, Dad, you're breathing heavy." I was like, "Thanks."
That's it.
All right, so but I'm saying you're saying things I already know. You know what I'm saying? But like when they say stuff about Jessica, that's actually when I get defensive.
No, that is a good.
Like I'll reach through the internet, and find you.
You got the force.
Hey, I got a little advice for you.
When you can't tan. Just go lay out in the sun.
I was like, a tanning bed?
Yeah, no, lay out in the sun.
A sun, okay.
Middle of the day, get some tan. It's also good for you, and a heck of a lot more comfortable and easy.
Yeah,
and it makes you look better.
Maybe look like a red apple.
I know, Jessica can't breathe over here.
Oh my God.
This is why you married me.
All right. Okay, tattoos. We're gonna keep on in the spirit of fun. Your audience is 60-year-old ladies.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 35 to
30
60,
to 60.
65.
Conservative.
Yeah.
Christian.
Probably
that's the thing is I don't know that's actually they probably might be like 50%. You know, maybe the majority, maybe 60%.
Okay.
You'd be surprised.
Women are Christian or conservative?
You'd be surprised how many. Well, I'd say probably Christian conservative women. Now we have a lot of other women, which is just a fascinating thing about our channel. Even the fact that we don't hide faith and Jessica does devotionals. You'd be surprised. The worst commenters on devotionals are religious people. The reason why Jessica keeps doing it is because the people are like, actually, I don't agree with your beliefs, but I watched this anyways, and it moved me, and I got something out of it. Yeah. And it's like, okay,
that's what you're doing it for.
That's the spirit you want.
And so actually, like, I think we actually have a pretty diverse group of
but
as far as like
women.
religion.
Yeah.
Yes, mostly women.
And my favorite comment because of that being people who don't necessarily agree with tattoos or whatever is my favorite thing is when people are like, yeah, I ignored your videos for a while because I didn't want to watch some tattooed girl, face pierced and all that stuff. And it's so bizarre to me.
Well, she's got a
face pierced.
Yeah, the
I know, it's just normal.
Yeah, like that. And people will say, I thought, what can this person teach me about gardening? And then they say, but I came around and I'm so glad I did. I love that. I love when people are like, hey, I had a bad first impression, but I checked that myself, and I'm so glad I got over my assumption because you were worth getting over my assumption. That's always nice.
Yeah. So what do we say? So now you've been here, and we introduced you to a number of people, including Grandma, Rebekah's mom, who's in her 70s and doesn't understand tattoos.
Yeah.
But loves you.
Yeah.
And will tell us about you. I mean, we get our news from you.
From her.
Yeah, she'll be like, oh, Jess, like telling me about your videos.
She's like talking about this party today. Like Jess is coming and like, wait a minute, we didn't tell you that. How do you know?
she saw
it on the video.
So, what do you say to Grandma? I like what you said about the Grandma pushing through. Is that what you say? You just say, hang with me?
Yeah, I mean, my thing is I think people put way too much stock on temporary things. I mean, like my skin. I mean, truly, I know this is really extreme, but this is where my mind goes. So track with me.
Let's go there.
Like, if I got in a wreck tomorrow and my arm had to be amputated from the shoulder down, I wouldn't have tattoos anymore. Now, obviously, that's really the only case, and I'm not going to have them anymore because they are permanent ink. But like, I would still be me if that happened.
Yeah.
Just like I'm me with the ink on my skin, just like I'm me before that. The truth is, I just love colorful things. Like, I love, my home is colorful. Everything that I do is colorful. I love colorful things. It's beautiful to me. And so.
And there's also like a cool story behind, Jessica's tattoo. I mean, and even
tattoo.
Okay, so
tattoos.
Well,
it's really one tattoo.
Oh, it is.
Well, except for I do have a tattoo.
Well, and also there's that time when you
No, we're gonna get there. We're gonna go there. Hang on to that thought. We're gonna talk about the regrets. We're gonna talk about the regrets.
No regrets.
Plural.
No regrets.
Go where you're going.
Okay.
Here.
So my little brother is a tattoo artist.
Okay.
And
so this makes sense.
He's 2 years younger than me.
He's like lots of tattoos.
And he's very good at what he does.
Oh, yeah.
And we were best friends when we were kids. I mean, like, just inseparable, even all through, like, middle school and high school. We spent a lot of time together. And our parents got divorced when we were teenagers, and I lived with my dad and my brother lived with my mom, and our lives really kind of got on different tracks then. But we stayed pretty close. He lived with me after I was older and briefly. But then he went down the route of becoming a tattoo artist, and he became very nomadic. He moved around a lot, and I had kids and got married. And, you know, I had my older boys when I was really young, and our lives were just really different. And I went into ministry, and honestly, I had a period of time where I will comfortably say that I think I was pretty religious. And my brother was living a life that we could call at that point maybe kind of wild. And so we were really separate. And in 2015, I was 30, and I hated visible tattoos. I thought they looked bad. I was like, I don't ever want to have that. I liked it on other people, but for myself, I was like, no. And I had really been praying for my brother and just praying. And I don't know exactly what my prayer was at the time, maybe for my brother to maybe know God, or I don't know exactly what my prayer was, but I just prayed for him a lot. And I just started to get this, you know, this idea that I wanted to have these tattoos. I wanted to get Drew to do this sleeve for me. And it got in my head, and he came to my mom's house for Mother's Day, and I saw him, and I was like, hey, Drew, would you do a sleeve for me? And I wasn't even fully committed to it, actually. But I was like, I just wanted to do it. And
you might be the first person that ever got a sleeve tattoo that was like kind of playing with the idea.
I know.
And then just
and he was,
because that's a commitment.
Yeah, he was like, you know, I've really been wanting to do something for you. I would love to do that. And you know, some people will be like, God didn't tell you to get tattoos. Like, so that will rile up some people, I know. But I really do feel like he did. I really do feel like this desire was planted in my heart. And I actually went to my brother and I said, you know what? I want you to do it. Your art, you come up with it. I'll get whatever you want.
That is intense.
And so
wow. So did you know what he was going to do before he did it?
I knew there was going to be a peacock, a rooster. I knew there was going to be cardinals.
And then the sunflower came in last.
Yeah, he did that. That wasn't me. The sun he did.
Wow.
And so
he did a really good job. He didn't just like put something crazy on your arm.
He took it very seriously. The first few years he tattooed, he wouldn't even tattoo me because he's like, no, he's like, I got to get better. I got to look at your tattoos forever. You know, like
you're my sister.
So what happened was I made the appointment and we outlined the whole thing wrist to shoulder in one day, like, so I couldn't back out. Wow. And I went and we got in the car together and we went to this art museum in Northwest Arkansas. And we went to lunch before and we got in the car and I was like, whenever we were kids, I used to call him Dew because his name's Drew. And I was like, you know, Jess and Dew together again. And he looked at me, he said, I don't think I've been alone with you in 10 years.
Wow.
And I was like, I know. And over the course of, 18 months of going once a month to work on my sleeve and work on, and it became a self-care thing. It became a thing because at that point, I mean, I'd had all these kids for, you know, like I'd been having babies and nursing babies for 10 years. And it was just this thing that, I mean, healed me in a massive way, helped me find myself and, like, take time for myself. And my brother, over the course of doing my tattoo, like, became my best friend again. And, like, we still, like, I talked to him for 2 hours on the phone the other night. He's traveling the country in an Airstream and tattooing all over the place and fly fishing. And
he does lots of fly fishing.
You know, we've kind of, like, we're living in different places, but he's still one of my best friends. The tattoo's still not done. I still haven't done my elbow because I am a weenie, and I don't like getting tattoos. It's very painful. And
I was going to ask that. It had to have been extremely painful.
Well, he has a few secrets, but we can't reveal those.
Okay. Well, if I ever get a tattoo, I'll get him to do mine. Yeah, and reveal those secrets.
He's coming up this area. So.
Yes, and he did them, and it was.
It's funny because as I was driving up here and you messaged me, and you're like, "Hey, BFF, you ready to be on the podcast together?" And I was like, "We should get matching tattoos."
Oh my
God! Look at the topic you brought up.
That is one thing Justin and I have not done is tattoos. We've talked about it, but we've never committed.
What's cool.
She'll have one on her left.
Yes, facial tattoos. Right. Let's go right for it. That's straight. That's straight up.
Straight to the face.
No,
I think that means
If we're
something.
going,
I
we're
think
going
that
all
means
out.
something like.
It's like something about killing people in prison. Isn't it? Or something like that.
So yeah,
okay.
no
And considering
teardrops.
I haven't ever been to
Better not
prison,
go
I
there.
don't
Don't
know.
So-
no
We could do
teardrops.
something a
on
little
any-
more mild. I don't know.
I got a message for the prudes out there who might think tattoos are a sin.
Mm-hmm.
Love covers a multitude of sin.
Yeah. I mean,
And this is the story.
I hear so many things and people who like argue with that and all, and I just kind of fall down the line of like I think everything's permissible, but not everything's beneficial. And while I won't be getting any teardrops on my face anytime soon because I can't see that there would be a benefit in it.
I would have to tragically die or something.
Your initials in
Yeah,
there.
she'd get my initials, these permanent tears.
But I can say I have definitely seen the benefit of the tattoos that I have. I forget that that's a weird thing. Like, I mean, I don't even really think about them. I did wear long sleeves for 3 weeks after I got them because change is hard for me. But, you know, I'm
Really?
my piece.
She had to adjust herself.
Why do you laugh so hard at that comment? Change is hard for me.
We felt like we were going to move to South Carolina 3 years ago. It took that long to get okay with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. I have to say, I found you on Instagram a long time ago. You were writing for some magazine,
Decent,
and
yeah.
I remember like seeing your sleeve, and I was like, "That is so cool. I want to see it up
Yeah,
close."
it's going for
Like,
you in that direction too, though.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
it is cool.
it
is
gives
cool
you into an
branding.
art. It gives us
So-
people don't forget you.
a foot
You're the
into
girl with the
another
sleeve. You know what I
generation
mean?
almost. You know what I'm saying? A different world other than like
Yeah.
just the Christian
Yeah.
conservative woman world. The tattoos actually do. They open up conversations. Where'd you get your work done at? And we're like, our brother or my brother-in-law. You know, the only main tattoo I have, he did also.
Yeah.
And so, but like, it was cool how it played out, and we couldn't have known then how it was going to. But like, you trust Drew to do this picture, right? And
It's become so symbolic.
it's very symbolic. Okay, so like this is before Roots and Refuge has really become like a YouTube channel or any of that. We haven't even settled on a logo or any of that, right? So all this stuff gets done. All right. Now our logo is a sunflower because Jessica was on this trip and like, you know, read about how sunflowers eat radiation. So it's like it eats poison.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And it's like, so that's like
They'll
very
remove
important
radiation
to us.
from soil. Sunflowers
Right.
do.
And so that's like why it's in our logo. And she's got this big sunflower on her arm, but she got it before we ever established that. All right. And there's some other things. So like, you know, one time if you read in, is it Revelation?
Yep.
You read in Revelation about the colors in the throne room, and the colors that it describes in the throne
gemstones.
room of the gemstones are actually, because he didn't do like a traditional peacock, he just chose colors that he wanted, and he ended up choosing the colors that it describes, the beryl and all those colors. That's the peacock colors, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so like,
My
you know,
favorite is that
this is different.
the first time we came to South Carolina after we bought our land and we went exploring and we went into Columbia and we were driving past the stadium and there's this massive, because it's the Gamecocks, right? And there's this massive rooster, and I've always wondered why he made my rooster like this, because it's like in
She
a
wanted
fighting
like a calm
position.
chicken.
I thought it would be beautiful and like, you know, majestic, and it's like in a fighting spurring
it's a
position.
flogging rooster on her arm.
And I always was like, oh,
Years
it's so
ago.
mean. And we drive past Columbia, and I was like, hey, look, that looks like my chicken. And he's like, how about that? You got a South Carolina tattoo 5 years before you lived here. So it's kinda
Yeah.
And then the last thing
There's
was the
like it's a
cardinals.
lot
So,
of
like,
meaning.
My mom's favorite bird
Was a cardinal.
cardinals. And
Wow.
so she had these cardinals. So it's like this whole picture kind of plays out.
Yeah, it's really neat.
I have chill bumps.
Yeah,
like
it's
thinking
really
about it. It's so cool.
Which ones didn't play out? The tattoos.
Any regrets? There
Yeah,
was
there's a regret.
there was a
That's
regret.
not one tattoo my brother didn't
Okay.
do.
Yeah, he didn't do that one.
It's
But,
just hot in her face.
Oh, God.
You know, like young makes bad decisions.
I have a Christian tramp stamp.
It's a cross
gonna-
right above the buttocks.
Rip the band
But this is the best part. So I know
see it.
it's only a tattoo for me, right? But after all of the childbearing, it's a little distorted.
It's an old rugged cross.
Yeah, it's that rugged cross. You know what I mean? Like it kind of closely resembles, you know, like a old Roman cross kind of thing. It's got like nail holes in it, and it's a little twisted root, you know.
It's true, man.
But hey,
I was 18 years old. It was a Tuesday afternoon before my shift at the Golden Corral, and I had $70 burning a hole through my
and that's what she got, and she chose the location.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Now here's the thing.
That
Here's
is
the catch.
hilarious.
Okay, you kind of want to cover it up, but then you just have a different tramp stamp. And so it's like, yeah, but I should
yeah,
just write
I'm
it out.
committed.
Just write it out.
Just let it go. Let it ride.
Oh, this is hilarious.
Let's talk about your business story a little bit. There's 4 S's, as Zig Ziglar would point out. There's in stages, and we'll find out what stage you guys think you're in, but there's a survival stage, there's a stability, there's success, and then there's significance. There is a step beyond success. So I have an idea where I think you are. You're definitely not in survival stage anymore.
No.
But let's go there. What was the pit of your survival stage?
We talked about that in episode 1, didn't we?
Well, let's go there again. Episode 1, while there's still.
Okay.
Well, before we had the YouTube channel, we had our farm. And we were still really trying to find our identity of like what our farm was going to be. I did the farmer's market thing briefly. I learned that really was not for me. Is this my phone that keeps doing that?
I don't know. Somebody's dinging.
It's probably me.
It's not me.
The host ought to know better. Hang on.
Because I turned mine off.
Okay.
Mine doesn't ding.
So it doesn't come blow me up.
Not me.
Who is?
I always know it's not me because I'm like, my phone's always silent.
Your family's group texting.
I turned that off, sorry.
So I did the farmer's market thing for a little while and learned that was not for me at all. I was trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? And really it was just hustling. Like, I was doing, I want to have colorful eggs. You know, I can get an incubator, I can do this, I can sell these to the feed store, and just constantly trying to make the thing pay for itself because we couldn't afford to pay for it. Right. So, like, we needed the farm to pay for itself. And
my mom helped pay for it.
Yeah, his mom helped, and she was really into it, you know, and did a lot of the stuff with us. And we were learning, we were failing, you know.
See how we connected those two?
Yeah, there was a lot of both of those going on simultaneously. And you know, we built our first big garden. I was trying to figure out, like, what do I want to grow? What do I want to do? Learning to do hard work because I was like a neighborhood kid, you know, that grew up. I never grew up doing work like that. And so when I look at my survival stage, I really consider that like the pre-YouTube stage and maybe like that first bit of YouTube. And then we got into stability pretty quickly as YouTube started to take off. And learning like what was required there as far as showing up and producing content and learning to deal with like negative feedback and learning to maintain vulnerability in the face of that. And I would say like that first year of YouTube, there was like the survival stage giving way to stability. It wasn't like a
and we had a decision to make in that. There was a turning point in that because how it came down is, you know, I was trying to do all kinds of stuff to make money. The farm obviously wasn't making money, so I like started a lawn care business and was working 12-hour days, you know, 6 days a week, bringing in money. But like the farm was like
suffering,
bleeding,
almost dead. I mean, pretty much almost dead. We had a few chickens, maybe, you know, a couple of goats that we actually had sent to our neighbor's house because we weren't taking care of them.
Yeah.
And she came to me, and this was kind of the turning point. She came to me and she said, "We can't keep doing this." And I've resolved that I'm okay if you just want to move back into the city, but we can't keep doing this.
Wow.
And I said, she said, take time to think about it. And I thought about it, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. And so I sold off our contracts and shut the lawn care business down, which I knew would have consequences, and came back to the farm. And we just kind of waited almost there for 6 months, trying to, you know, waiting to focusing on the farm, but not sure how this was going to work. And that's when they came and got the chicken coop and repossessed our chicken coop and evicted our chickens. And also, we didn't put this in the first episode, but, you know, we were hosting kind of like a house church at the time, just with some close friends, not like trying to actually grow a church, but just like doing something because we were out of the mainstream church. And it was on Sunday when all of our friends were there, and we were like, you know, I think we had a friend there playing guitar, leading a little bit of worship, fellowshipping, whatever. And that's when the tow truck showed up, and I had to have my friends move their cars in the middle of worship so they could tow our car that we couldn't afford anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were like, why do we need to move our cars? I'm like, well,
they're going to come.
I was like, they're repoing my car. And so they got to get through your car to get there. And the thing is like that month, Jessica had done like her last like traveling, where she used to travel around to, you know, different churches and preach and stuff. And the lady had come up and said, you know, I felt like the Lord told me to sow this into you, and it's a $1,000 check. Okay, so that was the turning point. I'm telling you, because we had that $1,000 check could have got us caught up on our car and given us a little bit of like a couple $100 left, right? And we talked. We said, well, do we want to get caught up on the car, or do we finish the garden? We didn't have the garden finished because we didn't have enough for the soil and the rest of the wood and stuff that we needed to finish the first half of the garden. And we decided to let the car go and finish the garden.
Mm-hmm. And it was my first garden tour. It was my first video on YouTube that took off. And that was about 4 months after that. So, and that was really
a turning point from survival to stability.
Yeah,
really.
it was
if
really.
you can pin it back from going survival. Yeah, that makes sense. What was your mentality like going into YouTube, into that, from the gardening tour on? How did your mentality change? Because you had been putzing around on YouTube.
Yeah.
Before the garden tour, she came to me. I was sitting with my mom at her kitchen table, and we were talking about something, and literally it's like, imagine something out of a movie. You know, like Judge Dredd kicks the door open, right? So the door flies open, she walks in. Dun, 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 dun. She goes, I'm going to do YouTube like my job, and it's going to get us out of debt. Walks around and leaves. And me and my mom just said, okay. Because honestly, like, we believe.
I have a flair for the dramatic.
Right? I mean, like, hair flip and everything. And then she, like, went and got the camera.
You need to reenact this in a wilder still.
I should.
With the cinematic camera.
And that's what she said, and she was serious about it.
Yeah.
And so she started taking
that
it
was
serious.
March, and so I started making videos real regularly for a few months, just 200 views. I milked a goat. It got demonetized because apparently can't show a udder, like up close or something. I don't know. And it didn't get enough views,
It's utterly disgusting.
It has to get like 1,000 views within 7 days for them to even consider putting the monetization back on. And it didn't. It's still demonetized.
She was mad about that.
But yeah, like I was not getting a lot of views, and I think it was
that's geese. Makes sense.
I think it was June that first garden tour took off. So there was like a period there that I was like really steadily doing it, and then after it started to take off, honestly, the mindset I had was I was just mostly dumbfounded.
Yeah,
I think
I
you
know
and
that.
I
know that feeling.
That.
Yeah,
it is that. Wait a second, they're going to give us money? Like,
I know.
I get money for this? What? And coming from a place of real lack, this is that struggle stage between survival and stability. That is where your poverty mentality, your lack mentality, like has to die to really get in. Because you can be in the stability stage and maybe even get to the success stage, but I don't know that you can get to significance if you don't lose the lack mentality. Like it just makes you so close-fisted and so afraid, and like we talk about like parable wise, like you have seed to sow and daily bread. It's the same stuff. It's the same bag of wheat. And like poverty mentality makes you want to eat everything. I think for me, like being in that period of, okay, there's money coming. I probably spent the first 6 months of getting a check from YouTube feeling like, okay, this is going to be the last one. Like this is going to be the last time.
Oh yeah.
It's going to dry up.
And so what we did is we basically just like, we basically spent a lot of it on the stuff that we needed. Our kids needed new shoes. I'm talking like this is the kind of stuff that was going on the wayside.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we needed to update some stuff in the kitchen. We needed to fix this. You
like
know
our roof was leaking. Like there was like
tons of stuff. And so like we spent honestly that first year of just making money, getting caught up on all the stuff that was going out of the hole.
Paying off debt.
The next year was paying off debt.
Yeah. And it was really a wild thing, and I look back at that and I'm so thankful now, because I don't think you can ever really truly succeed or reach any sort of significance if you're just terrified of losing what you have, because whatever seeds you get, it just makes you want to consume things. It makes you so short-sighted. It's hard to think of legacy when all you can think of is the hunger you're feeling right now. And I feel like that's what poverty mentality does to us, is it makes us feel like we're starving to death, even when we just ate. It's that feeling of like every meal could be your last meal. Every dollar you get could be the last time you get a dollar. Like everything you get, you're constantly trying to say, what do I make the most of this for right now? And I don't think you can think in long-term goals when you're in that place. And truly, I can look back and see a lot of the ways that we were really like led in obedience to confront those poverty mentalities before we were doing well. you know, like giving away your last $10 and giving away your last bit of money and being generous even when you didn't have a lot to give. And that really confronts poverty mentality. But truly, the biggest test is when you actually get some money to manage. Like, that's when you really start to see what you have. And so, yeah, that I would say, like, when I look back at that first year of YouTube and, like, my mindset where I was, it was really just tearing down a lot of broken, like, thought patterns in my own mind about how to manage things.
Did you manage it well?
I think we did.
I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good.
When your tow truck comes and they're repossessing your car and you're telling you're probably not hanging out with a community that's like used to that.
No.
Friends getting repoed. That's got to be embarrassing.
It was.
So that has to.
No, it was perfectly great.
Right? This is like they don't even know like why haven't I moved my car? The tow truck. You know, they're not even connecting what's going on here.
Do the repo people come to your like front door?
Do you use that though? Do you use that as a driver to fuel your fire in getting up early every single day, putting out a video whether you feel like it or not?
Yes, there was definitely a lot of that. There was definitely this thing of like, I see I have a key here. I'm going to use it to unlock this. I think the real thing that fueled more than anything, though, was what we were talking about earlier with vulnerability. Because when you like stand in a place where you are humiliated, you have two choices. Like you can run and hide, or you can just be like, okay, here's the truth. You know, like take me or leave me. Reject me if you want to. And, you know, those people came back for house church the next week, you know, because we sat there. You want to know what we did? We actually went and sat down at the piano, and I was just like, I feel like a fool. I feel humiliated. But you know what? This isn't who I am. You guys are here. And, I mean, there was that feeling. These people are going to leave. They're not going to want to have anything to do with us. Like, obviously, we're, you know, you feel all that condemnation. We're irresponsible. We're stupid. You know, like, you feel all of that. And it's a choice. Am I going to be vulnerable? Hey, guys, here's where we are. We made these choices. We really think we're supposed to be doing this farm, and we made these choices, and this is the consequence. But we're even now. We're not going to bail ourselves out of this. We're going to keep moving and know that we're going to be able to fix it later. Of course we did. We settled that debt a year later when we had. How
do you transition from that being your fuel, you know, the sleepless nights, the embarrassment, the leaky roof? How do you transition from that being your fuel to what you're speaking of, where you got to put aside this poverty mindset and you got to adopt the abundance mindset? How do you make that transition?
I think it transitions into desire for legacy and desire for like my kids to not have that poverty mindset. That is still there. Like that idea and the awareness of people living in poverty is still very much there. I can see it on other people, and I want to keep it off my family. You also have to find another level of satisfaction in a thing. And truly, I would say what we're talking about right now is a struggle that I've really had over the last probably 6 months to a year, when it's like, I don't have to post videos 5 times a week anymore, 6 times a week, or whatever it is. I don't have to do that.
Hustle as hard.
I don't have to hustle as hard. I don't actually, I'm not super motivated by like stuff or money. Like, so to me, having all the needs met and having all of that, it kind of, that hustle is gone in that sense. But you want to know what I have found really motivates me now is, well, I can show up in a way that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to show up in. And so when I show up, I'm creating a way out of poverty mentality for other people. I can support other people's businesses. I can build something that's going to be influential in a culture. I can change the food system for people. I can help people change the track of their lives. I can, you know, teach people about things and get them. And it's just kind of this thing of like, I'm on solid ground now, so I could lay down and take a nap, or I could like be braced firmly on the solid ground to lift other people up onto it. So it is definitely a shift in motivation. I don't feel the hustle for my own family anymore, but more about what could
Honestly,
I do.
The hustle for our own family was easier to steward than the wholesale of a cultural impact.
Yeah.
Like if you want to influence the culture, like honestly, one of the big things is, in my opinion, is you need to steward wealth. Like you have to have, like, you're going up against like the opposite of what, like, let's say like what we believe, like the people who are doing the things that we don't agree with in
all the
culture,
broken food system,
all the broken food system, they have money, right? And they're putting out advertisements, and you know what I'm saying. And you can't expect to just come to that table without being able to steward wealth and have an impact. It's part of the equation. It's not the only thing, but we've dealt with a lot of poverty mentality through people, you know, getting upset at us that we actually have, you know, money now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just the wrong mindset, because it's like, would you feel better about your situation if I didn't have a nice car, or if I didn't buy a new tool, or if I, you know what I'm saying, if I didn't have this thing in my life, like it would make you feel better? You know what I'm saying? But the thing is you have to get past that, because having these things and having the, you know, a platform of wealth lets you be generous. Like she said, invest in other ideas, invest in other businesses. Like that's one thing I think that was one of the biggest shifts, is when we got out of survival, even in survival, we just had less resources to be generous with. Like, we've always stayed generous.
But now you can just bless more people,
right?
Now than you used to.
But the thing is like you're always challenged to be more, because here's the thing: is like sometimes we were generous when it hurt, right? And now for us to be generous when it hurts, it's like, well, like that's really. I'm saying like it can actually happen, but that kind of thing can have a big impact. It could be like that person. I don't know what the person that gave us $1,000 check, okay, which funded the garden. Right. Which got us to where we're at now. That is the turning point. Like, I don't know what her financial situation was. That could have been the whole entire $1,000 she had. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know, but I'm saying but she chose to be generous in that moment, and this is the result. So now every time that we choose to do something similar, we can anticipate a similar
like a
unfolding,
big impact.
like yeast in bread.
So what's next for you guys then? What's your significant goals?
I want to be just like Justin Rhodes.
That is a lofty goal.
It is.
Stop it.
I brought the wrong kind of hat.
You brought the wrong kind of hat.
Significance there.
I mean, right now, I will tell you there's a tiny bit of like survival struggle going on, because we're building our farm from scratch. And it's almost like we kind of got to this place that we had this really broad view of where we wanted to go, and then starting back, we had to hone that back into our home. I think you guys probably experienced that when you came back here and had to start over building a farm. And it's like what's right in front of you is the most demanding thing. But I kind of am looking past when that is over, whenever we have our farm built and our infrastructure in place and our systems in place. And we're really wanting to move business out into our region, into the town that we've moved by. Eventually, my big lofty goal is to have a learning center, and essentially like Polyface Farms meets Waco, Texas silos, you know, like like that kind of thing that
happen.
And it's only 2 hours away from me. That's great. I'm excited.
That people can come to.
Like a destination food spot that inspires you. Because like I said, like we believe, like if someone came to us and they didn't necessarily learn a particular skill at that moment, but they left inspired.
Right.
The thing is you still have to go home. Even if you go to a conference where they have all this information.
Yeah, that's true.
You still have to go home and start doing it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to remember all the things that they said and and so you still just, but if you can leave inspired, you'll get on YouTube and watch Justin Rhodes or us or someone, right? And you'll get after it. And make it work. And you're going to fail. You know what I'm saying? Getting through the failure.
It's true.
Like each expansion of these successes levels has come with failure on the other end. You know, not making a wise financial decision, not doing this right, not doing that right. We're starting over on this farm, and we honestly have no idea how to rotationally graze. This is what we're learning to do now. You know, pasture pigs. We didn't have enough grass. Like rotationally grazing in Arkansas was like, well, you get this little patch of grass. Don't eat too much of it though. I got to give a little bit to. You know what I'm saying? Like we had no grass anyways. Like so now we're like stewarding these fields. We're like the summer grass dies, and we've got green fescue. I'm talking like 10 inches high.
Yeah, you do.
I'm just like, we got some pasture. We got grass. Like now let's do it right. And where are the parts that are not great? We'll, you know what I'm saying? We'll
we're gonna be so much better.
Right. And so like, but we're basically learning from square one again, and failing, and you know, our cow falls down in her own poop and pee, and you know, but I'm saying like but we're getting after it because honestly, we're inspired as much as we're inspiring people.
Good.
And so I think that's probably for me, it's one of the driving forces for why I get up every day and all that. I mean, like meeting people when we go to events or when we've done book signings and stuff, like the stories of, I mean, just all from all, you know, the farming stories. Hey, I just started my first garden, to I was depressed and contemplating suicide, and we found your video, you know, it came up on something, and I watched it, and like now, and it's just like we've had so many testimonies. I mean, we've had testimonies of people being like, we were about to get divorced, and we watched this video, this devotional that Jessica did, and they saved their marriage, and now they're running their own YouTube channel that's being very successful. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that like really fuels me. Yeah. You know, the testimonies of what's actually happening. You know what I'm saying? When you're shooting a video and you're putting it out there, oh, people are watching it. Like, even for Jessica, like, those numbers don't really mean anything until you go to a conference and there's 4,000 people there that all know your name. You're like, oh, these are real people on the other end of this, right? And it's impacting lives, and it's doing something. It doesn't feel like it's doing something when you work from home and you shoot a video from home and you upload it from home, all right? Yeah. You don't really understand the impact. And so getting glimpses into like what's actually happening on the other end of our investment is a motivator.
Good for you guys. I'm proud of you guys. I'm going to take that generator starting up for the food truck getting here. We're going to have a showing of your show, Wilder Still, and our show, Rooted. And
I have a question though for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Where do you think we're at?
Oh, yeah, you're definitely in significance. I knew that because...
Yeah, you guys have made it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, for those listening, like, and you may not know, it's not always a clear, especially when you can look back and say it was the $1,000. You didn't know it at the time.
Right.
Just saying, and we'll have to look back at and figure out, well, where did you jump from success to significance? We might not even know, but just the things you're saying, you're not saying, oh, I want to earn $5,000 a month so I can pay all my bills. You know, that would be somewhere in stability, right? But your goals are a coffee shop.
Yeah.
To blow up this town, a silo center, right? A restaurant. That's significant.
A restaurant.
You're talking about going from a mentality of poverty and just get the roof fixed to how can I make a difference?
Yeah.
And that's become your driver. So it's very obvious to me that y'all are in significance because now you're making significant goals as opposed to successful goals or stability goals or survival goals.
Nice.
Gold star.
Where did you think you were at? I mean, obviously success.
Success.
Obviously, you would be in success.
Yeah, and
but
you know, we don't have time to get into it. We'll have to do a part 2 with you guys because what is success? You know, monetary. We didn't get to touch family dynamics with you guys.
We cut up
have
too
to
much.
do that again.
Next time we'll be more serious.
That'll leave everybody on the hook.
We'll
have
leave
a
the
part 2
tattoo
with
topic
you guys.
at home, and we'll just talk about the important topics of the day.
You know, is success. You know, we're talking about. Are we talking about monetary? Are we talking about happiness? Family dynamics.
It has to be
fulfillment.
Whole it has to be all
fulfillment.
Of it. Right? It has to be. You can be super rich and be a horrible father, and you're not successful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but even looking at you guys on a holistic scale, you're still in that significance because we're gonna watch episode 2 of Wilder Still tonight, and you're not concerned about so much about the animals and how they're adjusting. You're worried, how are your kids doing?
Yeah.
And how are they taking this? And you're finding inspiration in the kids just going along with it and supporting you in that. Those are your concerns. So across the board, you have these significance concerns as opposed to surprise. You're not worried anymore about getting them shoes.
No.
You're worried about how are they
emotionally
dealing with this change into our new life of impacting the world. How are they coping with the glass house? How do I protect them in this glass house? These are significant issues.
To be significant in their own right.
Yeah.
There you go. See, that's getting into
that's awesome.
Why we don't force them on the farm
to
and
how
things
they
like
be
that.
successful.
Right. But I mean, you know, as far as like the focusing on the kids, you know, when Toby was born, right? I think it was Toby was born. Asher came in and held him, and he looked down at him and he said, "He is so rare."
Oh.
Right. And it's always stuck with Jessica and stuck with me. And the thing is like, if rarity, you know, a loose definition is, you know, something like limited quantity, you know,
Yes.
hard to find. Like each person is rare because they're
That's
the
a good
only
way to put it.
iteration of that person.
Yeah.
There's no other person like Rebekah or Justin or Jessica or Henry or anyone. And so
Or Jeremiah.
Or Jeremiah. There might be others like me. But I mean, like, focusing on that part of your children, like,
They're
this
so
is your one
rare.
shot. This is that time that you get with them, you know, to teach them how to make decisions and how to steward and all that. And so it's more important than the pigs and the cows, even though those are very important also.
Good word. Good word. Where
Man, Henry's getting
we've
it.
talked about you've referred to your episode that's Wilder Steel, that's on Abundance Plus. Where else can folks find you?
Roots and Refuge Farm on YouTube,
Okay.
and rootsandrefuge.com is our
Okay.
website. And yeah, Wilder
Roots and
still.
Refuge on Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're Roots and Refuge on Instagram. We're
Okay.
just Roots and Refuge everywhere.
Okay. All right. All right. Good.
Yeah, if you
right.
put in Roots and, it's probably going to come up.
We'll have you back.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you
only a
so
couple hours
much.
away now. So.
Yep.
Nice.
Thanks for coming.